Hi, everybody. We're back with the homework helper for lesson 20. We're on page 159. So in this lesson, we're still adding or taking away 1, 10, or 100. 1 less, 1 more. 10 less, 10 more. 100 less, 100 more. And sometimes we can just look at the place value. So if we're dealing with 1, we can just look at the ones place. If we're dealing with 10, we can just look at the tens. And if we're dealing with 100, we can just look at the hundreds. But sometimes we can't. So when we're dealing with a number like 240 and we're doing 1 less, there's a 0 there. So we're going to look at that number. So we're going to say 1 less than 40 is 39. So 1 less than 240 is 239. So we're going to work a smaller problem to help us with the bigger problem. The same thing down here, we're adding 10, but when we add 10, we have 10 more than 94. 10 more is going to be 104. So 10 more than 194 is 204. So sometimes we can't just look at a place. Sometimes we have to look at a bigger part of the number, but still solving a smaller problem to solve the bigger problem. So then they're also going to give us these where we have to look to see what's changed and then tell them, was it 1 more? Was it 10 more? Was it 100 more? And we're going to just look to see what's changed from 239 to 240. It's just 1 more, 239, 240. We can count to find out. 10 more than 497 because we had 497 and then we have 507. The ones hasn't changed. The hundreds has, but it's not 597. It's not 100 more. So it's just the tens place that's changed. All right. So sometimes they're saying 10 more than a number, and then they give you the answer. So there are different things that can be missing, right? When this part is missing, we can just do the opposite to the second number. 10 more than something is 302. So 302, 10 less than 302 is going to give us that missing number. And then we're going to be counting by ones, tens, and hundreds. If we're counting from 396 by ones, we're saying 396, 397, 398, 399, 400, 401, 402. If we're counting from 396 by tens, you're changing that tens place every time. So we're going to go from 396, 10 more is 406, 10 more is 416, 10 more is 426, 10 more is 436. If you have a hundreds chart, you can look at that. There are probably also 100 charts online. I will try to post one to Schoology. It'll be as a file, but it'll be with our math videos for homework. I think that's where you're going to need it, if you need it. But it can help you when you're counting by tens particularly. All right, so counting by hundreds, we're just changing that hundreds place. 396, 496, 596, 696, 700, and so on. So let's turn that page and get started. The homework itself starts on page 161. And again, it will say lesson 20 at the top. The first part is the fill in the blanks. We have to figure out which part is missing. So in this one 1 less than 160 is. We need to take 1 away from 160. It's going to be easier to use that set. Okay, so 1 less than 60 is 59. So 1 less than 160 is 159. 10 more than 392. So we're going to look at this section here. If we had 92 and we had 10 more, if you can do it in your head, that's great. But otherwise, count it out. 10 more than 392. 393, 394, 395, 396, 397, 398, 399, 400, 401, 402. So if you can't say 92 and 10 more is 102, 102 and 300 is 402, then just count it. You can do the skip counting. Here they want you to skip count by ones. Here you would skip count by tens, or you can count up 10. That's okay. 100 less than 425. Here we're just going to take away from that hundreds place. Here we have 4 hundreds. We want to take away 100. That's going to give us 300. And then the tens and ones aren't changing at all. Now we have to decide, is it 1 more, 10 more, or 100 more? They went from 549 to 550. Did they change the hundreds at all? No. They changed the tens, but they also changed the ones. 49 and 1 more makes 50. So 549 to 550 is just 1 more. Now we're looking at this one. How many more than 691 to get to 701? Now the hundreds changes, but so does the tens. The ones doesn't change. This makes me think it's the tens that are changing. So if we've got 10 more, we can try just counting it. Or if you know in your head what it's going to turn out to be, that's okay as well. 691, 692, 693, 694, 695, 696, 697, 698, 699, 700, 701. So that was 10. We had 10 more. So especially on those, when you're looking to see what's changed and what hasn't changed, the hundreds didn't change here, but the tens and ones did. So we're probably looking at a ones that has changed over. Here, the hundreds changed, but the tens did also, which means we're probably looking at a 10 that changed over and went up to the hundreds. 10 more than something is 704. So we know that we can take 10 away from 704 to get this answer. It's a lot like the opposite of what we were doing here. 10 more than this gave us this. 10 more than this would give us this. So if we look at the difference between these two numbers, that'll tell us the difference between these two. Or we can count back. We have 704, 703, 702, 701, 700, 699, 698, 697, 696, 695, 690, 4. So I want you to look at those again. 691, we added 10, and we got just over the next 100, 701. Because when you add 10 to 90, you get 100. But we had an extra one, so in this case, we get 101. Same thing here. We went from 94 to 704. We are just adding 10 to the 90, which gives us 100, and 4 more. So the 100 goes here to make it 7, and then we have 4 more. So now 100 less than something is 986. We need to do the opposite. So that means that this and 100 more gives us this number. So if we were to add another 100 to this, what would happen to that 9? We have 9 hundreds, and we're going to do 100 more. That's going to give us 10 hundreds or 1,000. And these numbers don't change at all. So we're going to have 1,086. And here, if you take 100 away from this, you have 10 hundreds. You take away 100, you're going to have 9 hundreds. So we know our work is correct. Same thing here, they're doing less, 10 less though, than something is 815. So what we want to do is the opposite of that, and we're going to say 10 more than this. 10 more than this number. If I add 10 to 110, I have 2 10s. It's not going to change the ones. It's not going to change the hundreds. It's only going to change the tens number. So 2 10s. Now, if I have 2 10s and I take 110 away, I'm going to get 110. Good. These, you are going to want to practice these with your family. You're going to want to practice these with your family, but I will do them with you once here. And then it would really be good if you count with someone that you have at home to continue to practice it. We're going to count by ones from 204 to 212. So by ones, 204, 205, 206, 207, 208, 209, 210, 211, 212. It's just like counting from 4 to 12, only you put 200 in front of it. The other numbers don't change. Next, we're going to count by tens from 376 to 436. So we're going to be changing that tens number, but you can see that at some point we're going to get to 100. And when we get to the 100, it's going to add one more to the 3 to give us 4. So it's going to go like this. 376, 386, 396. Now we're at 90. When we get 10 more, that's going to give us the 100. So now we go from 396 to 406. I'm going to write this one out. I think that would be easier. 376, 386, 396. And at that point, 10 more is going to make 100 here. So we are going to have 406, but we're still not done. So another 10 would be 416, 426, and finally 436. Doing another tens. We're going to skip count from 582 to 632. Same thing, at some point, we are going to change over to 100. So we've got 582, 592. When we change this, when we add another 10, it's going to change our hundreds. So we're going to have 602, and then another 10, 612, another 10, 622, and the last 632. That's why I'm saying you need to practice counting these. This bit here, from this to this, that takes practice. This last one, we're going to count backwards by 100. So this isn't going to take very long at all, is it? We start with 908. So we have 900s, and we're going to take away 100. We'll have 800s. The rest of the number doesn't change. Taking away another 100, we have 708. Taking away another 100, we have 608. Take away another 100, we have 508. Take away another 100, 408. Take away another 100, we have 308. Taking away another 100, we have 208. Take away another 100, we have 108. And if we take away one more 100, we just have 8. Pretty cool. All right, our last problem is a word problem or story problem. So we're going to read it carefully, we're going to draw, and then we'll write about it. Henry enjoys watching his pet frog hop. Each time his frog hops, Henry skips counts backward by 100s. Henry starts his first count at 815. How many times does his frog have to jump to get to 15? Now, I am thinking the easiest way to draw this would be on an empty number line so we can do those hops, right? So I'm picturing my frog hopping, well, Henry's frog. And we're starting, because we're going backwards, I'm going to go backwards. We're starting at 815, and we're going to count backwards until we get to 15. And we're going to see how many times it takes us to do that. If I'm looking at it, I might be able to take a guess. How many times do I need to take away 100 so that I only have 15 left? I'm going to jump back 100, and that is 715. 615. 515. I'm afraid I'm going to run out of room. 415. 315. 215. 115. And finally, 15. I'm just going to extend my number line. Sorry, those should all be 100. I've lost my eraser. Here we go. I started writing the number I was counting instead of the number I was counting back. So I don't want to confuse you. These are all 100. We counted back 100 each time. From 815, 715, 615, 515, 415, 315, 215, 115, and finally 15. How many times did the frog jump for us to get to 15? So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. So The frog jumped 8 times. Now, we drew a picture, but I want you to also think about this number we started at. How many times did we have to count back 100 to get rid of all of these hundreds? We had to jump back 8 times. There were 8 hundreds. If we took away 800 from this number, we would have 15 left. So we might not have needed to draw this out. We might have been able to just look at that number. If we're taking away 100 every time, we'll need to do that 8 times to get rid of all of the hundreds and just have our 15 left. It's a little bit easier if you look at it in unit form. We had 8 hundreds, and then we had 110, 5 ones. We could even put that together and say 15 ones, because this is what we want to end up with. We want to get rid of this. And we're doing it 100 at a time. How many times? We needed to do it 8 times to get rid of all of our hundreds. You guys are doing some amazing thinking. Thank you so much for working with me, and I'll see you next time.